They built a global empire on trust, but behind Nestlé's smiling brand lies a secret they never wanted the world to know. What you're about to discover isn't just unethical, it's deeply disturbing. This is the dark truth Nestlé hoped would stay buried. In this video, we uncover the shocking truth behind Nestlé's global image, a disturbing history of exploitation, unethical practices, and hidden controversies that most people have never heard about. From child labor in cocoa farms to questionable water ownership deals, this exposé reveals the side of Nestlé the public was never meant to see. Prepare to question everything you thought you knew about the world's biggest food brand. Before we expose what Nestlé doesn't want you to know, make sure to hit like and subscribe. The truth starts now. If you think the world's largest food company is all about trust and nutrition, think again. Let's pull back the curtain on Nestlé. And what you're about to hear may change how you see your favorite brands forever. Nestlé has faced a long list of disturbing controversies, including accusations of child labor, modern slavery, and forced labor in its supply chains. The company has been linked to contaminated food, union busting, price fixing, and even illegal water extraction from drought-stricken indigenous lands. Critics also point to Nestlé's role in spreading disinformation about recycling, deforestation, and deliberate lobbying to sway women's and infant nutrition policies, spending thousands to protect profits over people. They've built an empire, but at what cost? Let's begin uncovering Nestlé's darkest secrets, the ones they hoped you'd never question. If a company built its empire on feeding the world, why are so many of its darkest chapters buried in silence? Nestlé's name is familiar in every household, but behind the glossy branding lies a history soaked in controversy, especially when it comes to baby formula marketing and child labor in cocoa production. Back in the 1970s, Nestlé came under fire for aggressively promoting infant formula in developing countries. They allegedly misled mothers by distributing free samples in hospitals and dressing salespeople as nurses, all to make formula seem healthier than breastfeeding. This tactic caused global outrage and sparked the 1977 Nestlé boycott, which spread across the US and Europe. Nestlé promised to follow World Health Organization guidelines in 1984, but by the 1990s, whistleblower Syed Amr Raza Hussain revealed that similar deceptive practices continued in countries like Pakistan. His story would later inspire the critically acclaimed film Tigers. In 2011, Nestlé was again accused of unethical behavior in Laos, allegedly providing incentives to doctors to promote formula and failing to translate safety information for local populations. Nestlé denied the claims and commissioned an audit, which still found violations in 4% of surveyed retail outlets. But the story gets even darker. Nestlé has been deeply entangled in allegations of child labor, forced labor, and modern slavery in the cocoa supply chain. Despite pledging to eliminate such practices by 2005, they later admitted in 2019 that they could only trace 49% of their cocoa back to farms. Children as young as 12 were reportedly trafficked, beaten, and forced to work in brutal conditions. In 2021, Nestlé was named in a class action lawsuit by former child slaves from Mali. The plaintiffs accused the company of knowingly supporting forced labor, but the US Supreme Court dismissed the case, citing jurisdiction limits since the abuse occurred overseas. Therefore, despite decades of promises, lobbying, and PR efforts, Nestlé's troubling legacy remains far from erased. A legacy built not just on food, but on the exploitation of the world's most vulnerable. We must ask, what lies beneath the polished image of familiarity? If a brand so deeply woven into daily life is capable of endangering public trust, it is in this shadow, between trust and truth, that Nestlé's most disturbing controversies begin to unfold. Though Nestlé has long stood as a global symbol of nourishment and convenience, its corporate legacy is marred by unsettling revelations. In 2015, following a self-initiated year-long inquiry, Nestlé confirmed that forced labor was present in its Thai seafood supply chain, a rare and sobering admission from a multinational entity. While Nestlé's operations in Southeast Asia were not extensive, the disclosure nonetheless shook the industry, as few global companies have dared acknowledge such abuse within their networks. In response, Nestlé promised comprehensive reforms, A program was introduced to educate vessel operators on labor rights, apply stricter supplier standards, and implement regular audits. These initiatives were commendable in intent, but whether they truly resolved the issue remains a matter of public doubt. Yet issues persisted. In 2015, parents were horrified when weevils and mold were discovered in Cerelac, Nestlé's popular baby food. More recently, a 2024 investigation revealed that Nestlé's baby formulas, sold in lower-income countries, contain significantly higher levels of added sugar than those sold in wealthier nations. No incident stirred more public outcry than the 2015 Maggi noodle scandal. Testing revealed that some samples contained lead levels exceeding legal limits by over 17 times. Governments across India, Nepal, and several African nations enacted bans. Though Nestlé relaunched Maggi months later with heavy marketing, public trust had already eroded. In reflection, Nestlé's history is not merely one of global success, but of repeated failures to uphold the very values it advertises. The question then is not whether mistakes were made, but how many more remain hidden. Now let's shift the lens toward one of the most precious resources on Earth, water, and Nestlé's controversial role in controlling it. If nourishment is Nestlé's claim, water is the foundation of its empire. But for decades, that foundation has been shaken by serious ethical and environmental concerns. At the 2000 World Water Forum, Nestlé, alongside other corporations, influenced language that reframed access to water not as a human right, but merely a basic need. Though company chairman Peter Brabeck-Letmathe later reversed this stance in 2013, calling water a human right and asserting governments must provide at least 30 liters per person daily, critics argue Nestlé's actions tell a different story. Nestlé's Arrowhead brand has long sourced water from Native American land in drought-prone California. Despite its water-drawing permit expiring in 1988, Nestlé continued extracting over 30 million gallons yearly, paying only $524 in fees. Meanwhile, residents face strict water restrictions. Environmentalists and public agencies decried this exploitation of a fragile ecosystem, but Nestlé maintained its operations with little legal consequence until 2021, when California's Water Resources Board ordered them to stop unauthorized diversions. Similar battles unfolded in Oregon and Michigan, where Nestlé pushed for rights to local spring water. In Oregon, public outrage defeated the proposal, while in Michigan, residents fought against a plan to increase pumping rates, calling it a David versus Goliath struggle. Nestlé paid just $200 annually to extract vast amounts of water, while towns bore the legal costs. Therefore, what begins as a bottle of water on a store shelf tells a far more complicated story, one of power, privatization, and the commodification of life's most essential resource. Turning now to the treatment of animals within Nestlé's global supply chain, a matter that continues to raise ethical concerns. In 2018, Nestlé made a notable pledge by signing on to the Better Chicken Commitment, an initiative designed to improve the welfare standards for chickens used in its food products. The commitment included changes such as providing more space, better living conditions, and using more humane slaughter methods. At the time, this move was welcomed by animal welfare organizations as a step in the right direction. But progress since that pledge has been difficult to trace. According to a 2025 review by Compassion in World Farming, Nestlé has failed to provide meaningful updates or transparent reporting on its compliance with the commitment. This lack of clarity has cast doubt on the company's follow-through, especially in an era when consumers increasingly demand accountability, not just promises. Similarly, Nestlé's egg sourcing has shown signs of backsliding. While the company previously reported that 76.3% of its eggs were sourced from cage-free suppliers in 2021, that number declined slightly to 74.4% by 2024. The drop may seem marginal, but it raises questions about Nestlé's ability or willingness to maintain progress on animal welfare when market pressures mount. Therefore, while Nestlé continues to make public commitments to animal welfare, the current trajectory suggests a gap between intention and impact, one that concerned consumers and watchdog groups are watching closely. Let's turn the page, because Nestlé's influence doesn't stop at what's inside its products. It stretches deep into power, profit, and controversy. From chocolate bars to dairy cartons, Nestlé's history with price fixing reveals a company willing to control the market from behind closed doors. In Canada, executives were caught secretly exchanging pricing strategies, leading to a $9 million settlement. The deal ended quietly, but it spoke volumes about how the company handles competition. The pattern continued. Nestlé's labor practices have also come under fire. In Colombia, union organizers describe a workplace culture of fear, where labor movements are crushed through intimidation in collaboration with security forces. Nestlé has denied the allegations, but worker groups say otherwise. And when it comes to the planet, the cost is steep. In 2017, investigations showed Nestlé's cocoa supply was tied to illegal deforestation in protected African regions, where forests were razed to make room for cocoa farms. Endangered species were pushed to the edge. Therefore, behind every Nestlé label may lie a story far more complex, one written not in sugar or milk, but in secrecy, power, and a very high cost. In the end, Nestlé is more than a food and beverage brand. It's a global empire built on convenience, profit, and controversy. From baby formula scandals and labor exploitation to environmental destruction and corporate secrecy, the company's history reveals a troubling pattern. Polished promises on the surface, but deeper down, a trail of unresolved damage. It claims to nourish the world, but behind that promise lies a legacy that has often put power over people, profit over ethics, and silence over accountability. Therefore, the question isn't just what we consume, it's who we trust to feed us and at what cost. Because sometimes the most trusted brands are the ones that need to be questioned the most. If this opened your eyes, don't just scroll. Tap like, hit subscribe, ring the bell, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share it with someone who needs to know the truth.